Welcome back to Under Oath. I'm attorney Jeff Kaufman. Today we have author, psychic, and medium John Edward. John, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you for having me.
Oh man, I got to tell you, I love doing these because I'm a comic book writer. I believe in some weird stuff every once in a while. I believe there's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, but for the last so many decades, you've been dealing with this and dealing with the way people feel about it. I mean, what is the toughest thing when you tell somebody this is what you do?
I normally don't tell people what I do. When people don't know who I am and what I do, and they go, "What do you do?" I go, "I'm a writer." And they go, "Oh, what do you write?" And I go, "Books." And when they ask me what kind of books, I go, "Parapsychology."
There you go.
And they usually stop there. That's usually where we stop.
Oh my God. It's how many books have you written so far?
I think this is going to be my 10th.
Oof. And it's just like, I'm going to tell people the past stories. I mean, is it stories of hope, or is it just like, hey, listen, this is what happened?
Well, it's a combination. So I've written nonfiction that is kind of like my timeline journey. And then I really, my passion was the fiction side, because I kind of got a chance to teach where people don't have to think about, the nonfiction part of it, and they can suspend that and just kind of go on the journey of a story. So I did a few of those. One of those was turned into a Lifetime movie, which is kind of cool. But I haven't published anything since 2012. And the last thing that I published was a novel called Fallen Masters. This book that's coming out, Chasing Evil, is the culmination of 3 decades of me assisting an FBI agent on his cases. And I very clearly say, I solved nothing. I did not work for the FBI. I worked for a 3-letter organization called the BOB, because his name's Bob. And, Bob came to me, and the same way that I could work with a client and give them insights and help them on their journey and maybe their grief journey, I can't fix their grief. I can't fix their problems. I didn't solve his cases. I gave him insights and information that assisted him in doing what he does, and he did what he did. And that's kind of the true reveal nonfiction from his case files story that's coming out.
Now, the hard part for me would be, I'm also an attorney, and I can imagine that they go, where did you get this information to him? And, what was there ever a fear that you might have to testify?
No, because I said to him in the beginning, I want you to keep my name out of everything, if that's possible. And he said, not a problem. I want to keep my job. So we had a mutual understanding. But he's now retired from the FBI, and he kind of felt like he wanted to, or I should say, I think he felt he needed to, in a cathartic way, release something. You know how like there's that one story that can just be the thing that anchors you and you have to let it go? There's one major case, and it's the original case that he came to me with. And that case has been the case that, I don't know, restructured his entire life. Big deal for him. And I think the way that it ends was a big deal for him, and a lesson. So I think there's a lesson in the reader of watching what he goes through and his dedication and passion for, getting the bad guy and what cost he had to go through. So the book is in his voice, and it's like his journey with me kind of adding color throughout, and the energetic spiritual kind of commentary specifically at the end. But it was the timing. The timing was now.
When I know you tour, and I know you're going to go around, you sign the book, you're also going to do readings, you're going to be all over Florida, which is fun because we're out of Orlando. Yep. And I believe you're here on the 16th of August. Yep. When you travel around, you just see these whole groups of people. You can't possibly talk to everybody, and everybody who shows up is hoping that you're going to be doing their, you're going to bring their relative, you're going to be doing their reading.
So one of the things that I know that people, come to me is like, so the TV show that I used to host many years ago was called Crossing Over. Crossing Over, the TV show, was based on my live events. So when I do a live event, I come out, I kind of introduce the concept, explain my process. If there's anything like, happening that I feel like they need to know about, like if there's an astrological thing that I know about, I'll talk about that. Then I get into doing the Q&A, answering people's questions, and doing as many readings as I possibly can. The best part of the event is when I tell people, if you were read, today was not for you. And they kind of all like wince. And I'm like, if you were read, you're like one of the teaching souls for our class, because that's what I see what I do as being a teaching moment. If you were not read, the event is really more for you. Because the moment somebody's read, they become subjective to who did or did not come through and what was or was not said. When someone is not read, they wear everybody's experience. So the true lesson and education and empowerment comes from not being read because you're eagerly listening. Whereas when people are read, I lose them after I move on to somebody else because they become very human, into the human ego, into the zone of, I wonder why they said this and how come they didn't say that. And I would have thought for sure they would have said this. And oh, I'm so disappointed that this person didn't come through. Meanwhile, I've read 3 other families. So the experience becomes different. So when someone's not read, I think they get more out of it. And that's been the general consensus when I get the emails and the posts and the stuff that comes in after the fact. They're like, hey, I didn't get read, but I got, and then they list all the things that they did get. That's a cool vibe. That's a cool feeling because my job is to lead people better than I find them.
I had the opportunity to speak with another medium a couple of years ago on our show, and I asked, "What is the common denominator when you speak to somebody on the other side or somebody comes through? I mean, what positive thing do you take out of it?"
For me, I think it's to show that there's a survival of consciousness and it's got to be validated clearly that life and love are eternal and that they're still with us and that even through the trivial, mundane things that are happening in our lives, they see those things, that they're a part of it. And sometimes they'll give us stuff that's coming up as well, that they show that they're going to be a part of that, both positive and negative. I think that's the cool part of this. And, watching the lights go on in someone's eyes again after they've been in a very dark place for a while, that's empowering.
Now, I've got a selfish question, not about my own life, but
Sure.
The hard thing for me is when a pet passes away,
Sure.
and it's devastating for me. And they go, "Who would you like to see in heaven someday or on the other side?" I said, I would love to see if my dogs are there waiting for me. If I got there and just all my dogs, my father wouldn't be the one I'd be waiting for. It'd be like
Right.
all my dogs that I passed. Is there any? God, it's such a weird question. Is there any shit that our pets pass over to, or do they go places with us?
Absolutely do. And it's not a weird question. It is probably the most significant thing that happens at the events. And I always bring it up because I find it still funny after all these years. I could have talked to 5 families and brought through 20 people, right? Tragedies. And then I'll get to someone, I'll be like, hey, I've got your Maltese boo-boo coming through. And all of a sudden, the entire room loses it. And I'm like, I get it. And the reason why is pets provide us with unconditional love. They are placeholders for us to remind each other how we should be communicating with each other, right? The appreciation factor, the gratitude, and that connection, that oxytocin bond that we form with our pets is very, very deep. So that love bond is definitely there. I had an assistant early on in my career, and she had a golden retriever named Sunny. And when she retired from working with me, we would touch base once every 6 weeks. Hey, how are things going? So I had a dream that I was walking through kind of like a forest, and I was in this clearing. And then all of a sudden, coming through the brush was this golden retriever puppy, and it was jumping all around me. And I knew in the dream it was Sunny. And I'm just thinking, when I woke up, I was like, oh, I got to tell Ellen I had a dream of Sunny as a puppy. And I called her the next day and I tell her this dream, and I thought I lost the call. I was like, Ellen, are you there? She couldn't speak. She had put her dog down the day before. So me calling her to tell her that I had this dream about Sunny, and Sunny was a puppy and she was vibrant and she was this, was the validation that she needed to know, because she didn't want to ask me. She didn't want to burden me by having to ask. And Sunny came through without her having to ask. And it happens a lot. People, have pets come through. I remember I was doing Crossing Over, the TV show, and I just walked off the show, like I just got done filming, and I had to do an interview. And they said, it's going to be a very quick interview. It's for this paper, whatever. And we told the journalist, not to ask you for a reading. She said, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay. And I sit down, and as I'm talking to her, all I hear the entire time, boomer, 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 right? Now, in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I say this, then she didn't ask me. If I say this, it's going to it's going to put me back and I have to go back out to film. And the interview's wrapping up and I'm just about ready to say, hey, do you have any connection to? And I didn't have to. At the moment the interview was over, she got extremely emotional and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I just lost my dog Boomer. And do dogs come through? And I just had this moment of like, yes, dogs come through. So you could rest assured that your Boomer is definitely with you. And I wanted to tell her, like, the entire time we've been sitting here, I've been getting the name Boomer in my head. And I think I did, but there was like, it would have been way more of a validation for her if I would have said it first before she asked me. But yeah, pets come through all the time.
When you mention things like that you'll be sitting there and suddenly something will hit you, or so you'll be haunted by something, or you're in your dreams or so. When I say haunted, I mean bothered by it. I mean like,
yes.
Woo, not Scooby-Doo or anything. I'm talking about,
right.
Other stuff. And I guess if that can happen at any moment, I mean, where do you get your peace? I mean, where do you go? I got to go someplace. I can't deal with this anymore. I got to calm myself. I got to center myself. I mean, what do you do to get away from it?
So I think the greatest misconception is that this is happening 24/7 to me. And I think the place that I really, really understood that was when 9/11 happened in New York City. And I started getting bombarded. I don't mean like just a few. I mean bombarded by letters, cards, sympathy cards, to the point that I asked the show publicist, I go, did you guys like say that I lost somebody in 9/11? And they were like, no. They were all the same. We're so sorry. We're so sorry for you. Oh my God, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. It was one woman who explained what the zeitgeist was experiencing or thinking about. And she said, I can't imagine with your ability that you're getting any rest. I'm so sorry that you have to feel this. And then I was like, oh, they think that like this is like 24/7 for me. It's not. So in the same way that somebody could be a Broadway singer in a musical, they have a period of time where they're going to go do their show and they're going to perform and they're going to sing. The rest of the time, they're going to kind of make sure their voice is okay. They're not going to maybe talk. They're not going to be doing what they do. So when I'm not reading, I'm not reading. So I have scheduled times where I'm going to be doing this and I open my energy up. It allows me to receive. And then when I'm done, I power my energy down. And here's the reason why. If I didn't do that, then I could be open all the time. That would be draining. That would be tiring. And then more importantly, I would pick up on information for people who's not asking me to do it. So it's never okay to enter someone's vibration without their consent, because my intention might be really positive. I might want to help that person and I might be getting grandma coming through. But here's the problem. If that person has unresolved issues or trauma with their grief because they haven't navigated it, now I'm coming in and they're not expecting it, that could do more damage than good. So I always tell people it's never okay to enter someone's vibration without their consent. A reading or an event, they're coming to me. That's implied consent. And even in that example, when I'm doing my events, if I'm going to touch upon something that's going to be personal or private about a family dynamic, I will out loud say to them, hey, is it okay if I get a little personal right now? Now, I know it's okay because they're in the room. They've given me that consent, but I'm preparing them for what I'm about ready to say by how I'm going to say it.
One of the things I think about is the negative issues. When people come, I'm sure you catch a lot of, some of the people crossing back over, might not have some nice things to say. They might have some issues that they want to get, I don't want to say off their chest. But right. I mean, how tough is it for you to go, I'm not going to tell them that. I'm not going to tell the person I'm in front of this negative stuff that's coming over.
So the energies that come through are in a higher vibration personality-wise of who they were when they were here. Meaning, if there were judgments, if there were animosities, if there were physical issues, all that gets left behind. So now it's more like, that was the character they were playing here in the physical world. And now I'm dealing with the actor who played that role. So the soul plays the role of who we knew. So when they come through with a deeper understanding of all of that interconnectivity. So they're not going to come through with those types of things. They may come through with things that are confrontational for the client, meaning having to navigate what those issues that they're navigating with. So, for example, many years ago, I read for 3 people, very Italian family on Long Island. Mom and dad had a very thick accent. Their daughter did not. They lost their son. I'm doing the reading. And I said, your son showed me he had a blood disease. He passed from like leukemia. And they said, yes, he had leukemia. And I go throughout the entire reading. But at that time, I was working at a hospital as a phlebotomist in a laboratory. And what that meant is that I knew what the different tubes meant. So all of a sudden, at the end of the reading, and the sister was very like, I want to say disconnected. She wasn't very plugged in. Mom and dad were very there. Sister was not. So I said to the brother coming through, hey, is there a way that you can kind of maybe like incorporate your sister so that she feels like you talk to her? And he showed me an HIV tube. Now, in the laboratory, if you have, if you're doing at that time, if you're doing an HIV test, it was a brown speckled top tube with some stuff at the bottom, and you had to sign a consent form next to it. I saw that. So I went, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I misinterpreted something. I said, your brother's telling me that he didn't pass from leukemia. He's showing me that he actually had this girl's eyes became a cartoon character. She was like, she went from like peripheral vision like this to like they became legitimately like, it was like a cartoon. And I was like, I was like stumbling on the word, I was going to say AIDS. And I was like, he had a really bad form of leukemia. Like,
Right.
And then when the reading was over, they left. The daughter said, oh, I think I forgot my keys. So she came running back in and she said, thank you. They didn't know. So she knew, they did not. And he wanted to make sure that she knew that he was legitimately coming through.
That's painful. That's a painful thing. You know, what you do and how many, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people who know what you do and everything else like that. And, it's impossible to connect with all those people. And I know you have an app out right now that you're putting forward that you're going to be, basically global at any moment.
Yeah, so it's actually launched. I'm happy to talk about it. It's called Evolve Plus TV. So the TV's in there because people always want me back on TV. And I'm like, you know what? I would do TV if the right opportunity came about, but this creates the right opportunity and brings it about. And it's a hybrid. So it's like part social media. So people set up their own profiles. And then we have what I call the Soul Patrol. The Soul Patrol is our verified creators. And those creators are people like when somebody says, do you know of an astrologer? Yes, I know many. Do you know of a numerologist? Yes, I know many. So all the colleagues that I have, I've invited them, the ones that I know are, coming from the place that I need them to be coming from, help people to evolve. And they are verified on there. So when the members see the green check mark, they know like, okay, this is a person I should follow. And they go live. So we have anywhere from 15 to 20 live streams a month, which makes it very, very interactive. There's a whole place for people to develop their own intuition. We are launching a channel called Move, which is getting people into the fitness, physical side of the body, mind, and soul connection. We just launched a channel called Nourish, which is going to be talking about people's, skincare, right? And the importance of skincare. That's not psychic. That's wellness, right? Yeah. There's a very well-known Italian chef that's on there that shares home recipes. So it is a lifestyle app with a heavy focus on energy without the chaos of social media. So if social media met, if like Facebook met Netflix, met live streams, like all of that kind of together.
It just sounds like a way to get people connected without, dealing with a lot of the negativity that exists online. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, you asked me what my sanctuary is, right? And that's it. I created that sanctuary for people, a place for them to come. It's like a feel-good place.
Well, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed talking, John. When you're going to be in town August 16th, I'll try to get over there.
Thank you.